What is up, my fish tank guys and girls? Welcome to another entry in the Saltwater Rookie series featuring the 29-gallon Biocube here. I've titled this video the Saltwater Rookie Reloaded, based on the Matrix Reloaded, just because I'm a nerd. But the reason that I titled the video as such is because recently I basically started over with this aquarium. Not completely, but I'll call it a soft reboot, or so to speak. Now, you know, before I get into the nitty-gritty details, I'll let you guys know that everything is fine. Most of the fish are fine, and the coral are doing quite well. So let me throw up the intro, and then we'll take a look at the new version of the 29-gallon Biocube. Okay, so as they say, out of tragedy breeds new life, or a new start, or new beginnings, or that is a quote that I just made up. I don't know if that's a quote at all, but that's what I'm saying here, because when it comes to the Biocube here, I will say I went through a minor tragedy. So you guys may remember that in the last few months, I've been dealing a lot with green hair algae. I've actually been battling it for 3, 4, 5 months at this point, off and on, and it's been really frustrating for me because this tank once used to be a showpiece in my home, and it started to become an eyesore, and I was really struggling with it. So I wanted to tackle it from a more natural perspective. So I was trying to physically remove the green hair algae, do water changes, make sure my parameters were in check, and it was just a very brutal process, and I wasn't making a lot of progress. So I decided to look into alternative options for getting rid of green hair algae, and the one that I stumbled upon was called Flux RX. Now, Flux RX is fluconazole, which is some sort of antibacterial type thing, but it's supposed to attack the green hair algae without negatively impacting the rest of your aquarium. Now, I am on my second dose of Flux RX, and I will say that for the most part, things were not affected in my tank. I did see a massive increase in algae growing on the glass that I would have to wipe off numerous times a day, but I think that was just because my system had become so unbalanced that the Flux RX was starting to, you know, kill certain things in the tank in terms of algae, and it was entering the water column, and then it was hitting the glass and all that stuff, and it was a lot of work, but I was seeing progress, right? So after almost 10 to 14 days of the Flux RX being in the tank, the green hair algae started to just blow off the rocks. It started to lighten up in color, and soon I was making a lot of good progress. However, in the middle of all that, unfortunately, I had a minor tragedy, and that is that Ron, my yellow watchman goby, actually died. So let's have a moment of silence for Ron, if we may. You were the man, Ron. Ron was one of the longest lived fish that I've ever had. He is now only second to the 2 clownfish in the tank. I believe I put all of them in the aquarium around the same time. And Ron lived to be 7 years old. Now, I don't know if the treatment had any impact on him or he was just getting old. He seemed to be getting a little more timid when it came to feeding time. Could have been these guys were starting to be more bullies. I don't really know. But unfortunately, Ron didn't make it. Now, what spurred on the whole reboot of this tank is that I couldn't find Ron, and I was pretty certain that he didn't make it, but I didn't want him to stay in the tank and decay and cause more issues with, you know, nitrates and ammonia and things like that. I was already struggling with this green hair algae. So what I ended up doing is I ended up taking the rocks out of the aquarium in order to find him. There was only pieces of him left. Welcome to the brutal and harsh reality of the ocean. But so anyway, I was able to recover him, get him out of there. And at that point, I was like, you know what? I haven't ran the gravel vac under all these rocks. I feel like I have too many rocks in here. Like it's the tank is kind of crowded. I hadn't really been happy with the setup of the tank for quite some time. I was happy with it when I first set it up, but over the last, I don't know, 6 months to a year, it started to just feel like, like I said, the tank was an eyesore. It was hard to keep up with. There were a lot of dead spots for detritus to build up. So what I did was I took out some rocks and I tried to essentially maintain a similar feel to the aquarium, but I did a lot of rearranging. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take you guys through the aquarium. I'm going to show you all the changes to the rock work. I'm going to show you all of the coral that has been introduced to this tank. Until about a month or two ago, I don't think I added a coral to this tank for almost a year because the tank wasn't doing good and I didn't want to add coral to an environment that wasn't healthy, right? So I'm going to walk you through everything here. And then hopefully you guys like what you see. And I'm going to continue to give you regular updates on the Saltwater Rookie Reloaded here moving forward. So let's take a look at the tank. And first we're going to start with the rock work. Now, the first thing you'll notice about the rock work is that in the past, I kind of had a U-shape formation of rocks. One of the biggest changes that I made was I removed 2 larger rocks from this tank. So right now, to me, it looks like the tank is fairly full, but it's hard to imagine that there were 2 more large rocks in this aquarium before I, rearranged everything. I took the rock out of the bottom of the archway, which was just basically a big trap for detritus, and then I got rid of one of the rocks on the right side of the tank as well. So what I've kind of always wanted to have, I've always wanted to have a rock covered with what I would consider to be nuisance corals, like GSP or zinnias, and I never had that in this aquarium, so I was like, now is my opportunity. So rather than having a fully connected U-shaped formation in this tank, I kind of have almost like an L shape across the back and then the left side, and then on the right side I have a rock all on its own as an island, and you'll see that I have a nice GSP frag on that rock. So my hope is the GSP grows and expands and eventually covers that rock, and I have a really nice looking, grassy green, but not algae green, because of the neon and GSP rock in the front of the tank there. So working along that rock, I have a small ACAN frag that I've had in this tank forever. It was, plagued by, GHA. It wasn't making a lot of progress, so hopefully that starts to look better. I also have a small zinnia frag that doesn't really seem to like it there, but I'm just gonna leave it for now. I don't need to cut it out. I have no reason. So also on this front rock, you'll see I have a nice colony of pallies. These are a darker but neon green pally. Some of them have spread to the rock in the back. That's because previously those 2 rocks were making contact. So that's why you see some pallies on the rock behind it. Now making my way across the tank in the back, you'll see the Incredible Hulk SPS coral is looking okay. It's starting to gain some color. It's starting to spread again. It was receding for the longest time when the tank was covered with green hair algae. Now you'll also see here I have 2 small colonies of zoanthids. I don't know what these are, but the top colony, I don't know what they are by name, but the top colony is bright orange with kind of like purple centers, looks really nice. And underneath that is a very small frag of rastazoas. These rastazoas were in the tank before, and honestly, they were face down in the sand for months until I realized it. So the fact that they're even still alive and they're starting to slowly open is really a miracle in and of itself. And then last but not least, on the back here, you'll see I have a variation of a bird's nest coral. I just kind of, put it back there for the time being. I might move that in the future. Now moving up front here, you'll see that I do have a colony of cabbage leather, but in the old Biocube setup, this cabbage leather had spread uncontrollably, and my goal is to kind of keep it in a smaller format because I didn't like it taking over the tank before. It didn't look great. Now moving up front, you'll see I've got a couple heads of frog spawn doing just good there. I have some candy cane heads nestled into the rock as well. And then at the bottom of this rock, I have some rainbow cloves. Now, these cloves are beautiful. I think I may have them a little bit too low in the tank because they aren't opening up very much anymore. I will potentially look at moving those to the top. And then one of my favorite coral here is the green, neon green Trachophilia. You'll see for some reason the bottom flap of the Trachophilia is like pushed back onto itself, and I think that's because of the flow in the tank. I'm not sure why it's been doing that recently. It could be because of the way that the rock work has been shifted around a little bit and the flow has changed. But I really love this coral a whole lot. And then last but not least, I have the Blue Ridge coral just nestled in the sand there for the time being. So there you have it. The Saltwater Rookie series is kind of back on again after rebooting this aquarium. I'm really happy with the progress that I've made. I'm happy that this tank looks better than it has in almost a year. And I hope to maintain this tank in this state so it can continue to be a stress reliever and something nice to look at in my home rather than an eyesore. So I'm going to keep you guys updated, let you know how we're doing here. You'll see my feeder door is missing. I'll tell you guys about that in a future video. But anyway, once again, I am the Fish Tank Guy. Thank you so much for checking out my video and checking out this channel. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't yet subscribed, please consider doing so. And, that's all I've got for now. So until a future Fish Tank Guy video, I will see you guys soon.